Welcome students. So today I am going to explain Python program to set IP address and send the file to the FTP server. So we will follow some steps here. So step 1 is import libraries such as socket, then struct, then fcntl and then ftplib. So here we have to do connection with the other machine with the server, so that we will use the socket for create socket connection. Then we will use struct because we have to create some structures here which are required to bind or to pack the IP address. Then fcntl is used for file control because here we have to transfer the file and we have to store the file. Then after that we have to use ftplib for file transfer protocol. We require some functions, there are library functions, so that we will get from ftplib. So in step 2 we will define variables for IP address to set because we need IP address which we want to set to our Beagle board. Then we need server IP, so we will define variable for server IP. Then we will define variable for server username, then for server password, then what file we have to send. So for that we will define a variable, and after that we will define a variable for FTP command. So in step 3 we will define system input output control flags to get and set the address, that is IP address. In step 4 we will create a standard Unix stream socket of type AF_INET. In step 5 we will define a function for setting IP address with interface name and IP address as a parameter. So in this function definition, what we have to do, that is first we have to convert IP from ASCII to network format using INET_A to N function. So this function will convert your ASCII formatted IP address into network formatted IP address. Then in second step you have to convert this into binary values using pack function. So we have to pack all these data into given format codes. So we'll call pack function, which is the member of struct library. Then in this pack function there we have to provide format codes. There you have to provide interface name, then we have to provide our socket type, then we have to provide this \x00 into 2. So here we have to include some null characters, and 2 times you have to provide that null character because we are using the port number. We are not using any port number here, so that this port number is null here, and that we have to provide like this \x00 into 2. 2 times you have to use 00. Then network formatted values we have to take from this INET_A to N function, and then we have to use padding. So we have to use 0 zeros 8 times. So we are using \x00 into 8, so that our IP address size will become 32-bit. So this way you can use pack function. Then after that you have to call IOCTL function for input output control. Then IOCTL function you have to provide socket, then you have to provide the flag input output system input output control flag for getting IP address interface address. Then you have to use pack return value, which we got from this pack function call. Then in step 6 we have to define a function for getting IP address with interface name as a parameter. So in this function we will create an interface request structure for IOCTL method. So we'll do with the help of pack function here again. So again we will provide format codes, then we will provide interface name, then we will provide socket type, and then we will use padding, that is \x00 for 10 times we will use here to make our that size 32-bit of IP address. Then we will call IOCTL function where we will provide socket, then we will provide the system input output control flag for getting interface address flag here, and then we'll use the pack return value of this function. Okay. Then we'll call unpack function to convert this binary data into string data. Then after that we'll call INET_N to A to convert our network formatted IP address into ASCII formatted IP address. So in last stage, that is in step 7, we'll call these functions from main program, and after that we will set up the FTP connection for sending the file. So these are the 7 steps that you have to follow to write this program. Now I am going to write the program. So we'll write the program. So vi, then after that I'll increase the size. vi net ip.py. Then first I will provide shebang character /esr/bin /python. Then the next step is your import libraries that I told you. That is, first we have to import the socket library, then struct library, then we have to import fcntl, then we have to import FTP lib library. So next step is to define variables. So different variables are required here. So for IP address we'll use IP underscore addr, and then we'll take this input with the help of raw underscore input function. So we are here taking input from the keyboard. So I will use these. I will give the instruction here: enter IP address to set. Then next function, this next variable will be required for server IP. So I will use server underscore IP. So equal to, again I will use raw underscore input. So here again I will use the instruction, I will give the instruction enter server IP address. Next variable be required, that is server username. So server user equal to, again here I will use raw underscore input. So I will use enter server user name. Then after that we need server password. So I will use server passwd or pwd equal to, again I will use raw underscore input, then enter server password instruction. Sorry, double quote is missing here. Then after that we need file to send. So we will define again variable for, so I will use file ts. So file ts equal to, again I will use raw underscore input function, and I will give the instruction here to display. So enter the file name to send. Then after that we'll use the command. We have to use the command FTP command, that is store. For that purpose we have to define a variable here again. So FTP cmd variable I will use here, and I will give the command, that is store, and give it space. Then after this the next step is define IOCTL flags. So input output control flags we have to use here for getting and for setting IP address. So the first flag is SIOC SIFADDR. So system input output control flag to set interface address. So this will have the address, that is 0x8916. This is fixed address, do not change it. The next flag is SIOC GIFADDR, that is for system input output control flag for getting interface address. So this is again fixed 0x8915. So these two addresses are fixed, do not change it. So they are already defined by your CPU. So after that we have to create socket. So we'll create a socket. So we'll use sock, then socket dot socket function is there, and here we'll use socket dot ef underscore, because we have to define, we have to create a socket of type ef underscore inet, and then again we have to provide socket dot sock underscore stream, because we are using Unix stream socket here. of type AF underscore INET. Then after that we have to define function to set IP address. So in this function we'll do setting of IP address. So set IP ADDR. So this function we have to define, and here we have to use IFACE, that is interface name, and then IP address. So here first of all we'll do the conversion of IP from ASCII to network format. So the I_ATN is the function, member function of socket library, which converts your IP address from ASCII to network format. The next call is that you have to after that what we have to do, that is we have to create a structure. So I will use ifrec variable, and then after that I will use struct. I will use struct library, and I will call the pack function, and here we have to use format code, that is 16sh, then 2s, 4s, and then 8s. So this format code stands for, this 16s means we are using 16 characters, then h for unsigned integer we are going to use here, then 2 again characters we are going to use, again 2 strings we are going to use for 2 size, then 4 size string we are going to use, again 8 size string we are going to use here. So that is the format code, and with the help of that format code we are providing our the next parameter, that is IFACE. We have to provide our interface name, then we have to provide the socket type, socket dot AF underscore INET. Then you have to provide the null character for port number, so 00 into 2. After that we have to provide the return value of A to N, INET underscore A to N. Then after that we have to provide padding, so padding is \x 00, then into 40. So sorry, not 14, this is 8. So this way we can call pack function. The next function we have to call, that is IOCTL, for input output control. So with the help of FCNTL library we will call IOCTL function here, and inside that IOCTL there we have to provide socket, then we have to provide the input output control flag for setting IP address, and then our structure, which is written by pack. So this way we can define function to set IP address. So next we have to define function to get IP address. So I will define so def get IP ADDR. So here we have to provide the IFACE name. So by default we are going to use ETH0, that is Ethernet interface here. So I will directly provide ETH0 interface name here. So then we have to create an interface request structure for ISOTL method again, and we have to call the pack function here again. So I will use struct.pack, and inside this pack we have to provide the format code, that is for 16s, then h, then 14s. So with the help of that we are going to provide IFACE, then socket type, that is socket dot AF underscore INET, then padding we have to use, so \x 00, then colon, and then into 40. So why we have used this format code here? Because this IFACE is having 16 size string, then this socket dot AF underscore INET is having unsigned integer, and then this is having, this padding is having 14 size, so there size string, that is, so we used here 14s. So that is the use of format code to specify the format of the parameters. Then after this structure we have to use, we will use try and except block, and in this try block we'll call again IOCTL function, and which will have the socket and then flag SIOC IFADDR for the system and input output control flag for getting interface address, and then structure which is returned by pack function, previous pack function. So this we have to call, that is a IOCTL. Then we'll call this is happening in a try block, and in except block will return none if there is no address. Then none will have this. So after this we have to call unpack function to unpack the binary values which are created by pack function. So we'll use IP variable, and this will be initialized with this dot unpack, and again this unpack will unpack with the given format. So we'll use format code 16SH 2x 4x and then 8x. Again X stands for your string, so S stands for string and H for unsigned integer. Then close comma, the name of the, sorry, here I forgot to use the variable name, that is res. Yeah, we'll close it. So this, from this we have to use second of values, so that we have used second here. The next function we have to return, finally we have to return the socket dot init underscore n2a, because here we have to convert the network formatted IP into ASCII formatted IP. So finally we will return socket dot init underscore n2a. So this we have defined the function for getting IP address. Now the main program we have defined, main program logic. So first of all we'll print the line, that is current IP address is, and we'll print string value, so that we'll use %s here, and after that %get IP ADD, where call get IP ADDR function, and we'll provide ETH0 here, the interface name. Then after that again we'll print the setting IP address, setting IP2, and then we'll use %s, then we'll use %IP underscore ADDR, that is our function, that is our variable, sorry. Then after that we will call set IP ADDR function, and this set IP ADDR will have ETH0, the interface name, and the variable, that is IP underscore ADDR, that will provide the IP here. And then after that we'll again print a line, that is new IP address is %s. Then after that we'll use %get IP ADDR, and we'll provide ETH0, the interface name. So then there is no need to use comma here. So after that, this where we have set our IP, we have displayed our IP, current IP, then setting IP and setted IP. Then now we have to create the FTP, set FTP connection, and send the file. So here first of all we'll use try block, try and except block. In try block I will use print /n uploading a file on server So we'll display this, and uploading your file on server. In bracket will display the name of that file, that IP, and then we'll close here, and then we'll show the server IP. We'll print the server IP here. Then after that we'll print sending a file, and we'll show the file name here with the help of %s. Then after that we'll display the name of that file. So file st. So what is our, I'll just see the variable name, that is file ts. So file ts is the variable name here. Then after that we'll create a new FTP session. So just I will use session variable here, and then I will use FTP lib library, and then I will call FTP function for creating the session of FTP server. Then here I will use server IP. We need server IP, then we need server user. So server user we need here. So then server password we need here. So server underscore pwd. Then these things we need here, so that we'll use. Then after that we'll go to the server, and we'll after that we will open our file which is available on our machine, that is on our Beagle 1 Black. We'll call open function here, open system call, and we'll access the file name with the help of file ts variable, and then we'll open it into read binary mode. So after opening it, we'll go to send it. So again we'll use session object here, and then we'll call store binary function, and we'll use our command here. So ftp cmd is the variable that stores the commands. So ftp cmd variable we will use here. Then we'll attach the file name, so file ts, and then after that our file the file descriptor, which is written by this open system call. So here we are storing our file on the server, that is FTP server, with the help of store binary function. Then we will close the file with the help of close system call or close function call. After this we'll end the session, we'll quit the session with the help of quit function. So session dot quit, and finally we'll print file transfer done successfully. Okay, this line will display after the transfer of file. Then we'll use except block here again. If everything goes fine, it will display file transfer done successfully. If there is any error, so it will display the line, that is error communicating or connecting to the server. So this line will be displayed there. And finally we'll use exit function here. We'll call exit function. So this way you can write a program to set IP address and to send the file to the FTP server. So I have written this program here. Now we'll run it. So escape :wq. Now before that I will create a file here. So what we have to send, that is I will use program.cpp name for that file, and I will just give the content to that file, and then I will save it. Okay, so now we are having program.cpp file that we have to send to the server. We'll execute this program. So python netip.py. So what IP we have to set, that is 172.15 16.0.230 I will set here. Then the server IP is 172.16.0.45. then username is Moodle, then password is Moodle 123. then the file name we have to give, that is program.cpp. so now here the error has got tuple index out of range. So we'll go on that. Here is the error before. Okay, so now I can run this program. So see, enter the IP to set 172.16.0.230. then server IP is 170.16.0.45. then server username is Moodle, then server password is Moodle123, then file name is program.cpp. so here you can see that the output we got, that is file transfer done successfully. So we have to check the file transfer is done successfully or not. So you can go on your server, that is this PC is your server. So on this server you can check, you get this program.cpp file is transferred here in home directory. So this way you can write the program for network application in Beagle Black. So thank you for watching my